Picture a small kitchen table in Seaton Carew, a quiet grey seaside town on England's northeast coast, near Hartlepool. Two grown sons sit with their mother, still grieving a father lost to the North Sea 5 years earlier. What none of them know is that their father is alive, close enough, some nights, to hear their voices through a wall, hidden inside a bedsit next door, behind a plain, wooden wardrobe with a false back panel. This is the true story of John Darwin, the man who faked his own death for 5.5 years, and the strange, almost accidental way it finally came apart. Welcome to Impostor Files. March 2002. John Darwin is 51 years old, a former teacher and prison officer, married to Anne, father of 2 grown sons. One afternoon, he paddles a battered, second-hand canoe out from the beach at Seaton Carew and simply doesn't return. The next morning, that same canoe is found smashed against the rocks along the shoreline. This isn't a dramatic cliff coastline. It's flat, grey, unglamorous English seaside, the kind of place with amusement arcades and a windswept promenade, not postcards. Coast Guard boats, police divers, and volunteers search the cold water for days. No body surfaces. Weeks later, John Darwin is declared missing, presumed dead. Anne tells their sons their father has drowned. She grieves in public, at funerals, and in newspaper interviews. Then, quietly, she files an insurance claim. Here's what nobody suspected. John Darwin never left Seaton Carew at all. For 3 years, he lived in a rented bedsit immediately next door to his own family home, so close that the distance was measured in feet, not miles. He came and went through a rough hole, knocked straight through the shared wall between the 2 properties, a passage hidden on his side behind that same ordinary wooden wardrobe, fitted with a false back panel, swinging open like a hidden door. Every day his sons believed they were mourning a dead man. Their actual father was living an arm's reach away, behind that plain wardrobe, listening to the life going on without him. Anne knew everything. Together, the couple collected £250,000 in life insurance payouts and used the money to pay off the couple's £130,000 mortgage on the very house he was secretly living beside. Eventually, a dead man needs a way to become a living one again. Darwin applied for a genuine British passport under an invented name, John Jones, and made one telling mistake. He used his own real home address on the application. The passport photo still exists, black and white, showing a man with long, unkempt hair and a thick, bushy beard, nothing like the clean-cut teacher and prison officer he'd once been. A local librarian, who knew this John Jones only as a regular customer, vouched for his identity as a character reference, and the passport was granted without objection. With paperwork now in his new name, Darwin could travel again. He and Anne began flying to Panama, scouting land and property, quietly building the outline of an entirely new life across the Atlantic. Now, you may have heard this story ends with a receipt, some careless piece of paperwork, a slip in a wallet, a bill with the wrong name on it. That is not what actually happened, and it's worth correcting, because the real ending is stranger and more human. In Panama, a local property agent working for a relocation company photographed John and Anne for a promotional website. An entirely mundane picture. An ordinary, smiling, middle-aged couple in casual clothes, standing beside their agent, looking exactly like any other pair of retirees house hunting somewhere warm. Nothing in the image itself screamed fraud, but someone back in England recognized the man in that photo instantly. Years earlier, a tenant who'd rented from the couple had spotted John Darwin, unmistakably alive, on a Seaton Carew street, and asked him outright, "Aren't you supposed to be dead?" Darwin asked him quietly, not to tell anyone. And for a long time, the tenant didn't. But eventually, that same tenant was evicted from the property. And when the Panama photograph surfaced publicly, he had both the motive and the memory. He sent the picture to police anonymously, not out of civic duty, but out of a grudge he'd been carrying for years. The image ran in a national newspaper, and 5.5 years of careful, patient lying came apart in the space of one news cycle. By December 2007, Darwin walked into a London police station and told officers he had amnesia. He claimed to remember nothing since the year 2000. It didn't hold up for long. Once the Panama photograph and Anne's own account were laid against each other, the fiction collapsed completely. At Teesside Crown Court, Anne Darwin faced 15 separate charges: 6 counts of fraud, 9 counts of money laundering. She was convicted on the full indictment and sentenced to 6.5 years in prison. John pleaded guilty and received 6 years and 3 months. The director of the relocation company that employed the property agent put it simply afterward. It was breathtaking, he said, that a couple hiding from an entire country would let their own photograph go up on a public website, knowing full well they might still be recognized. So no, John Darwin wasn't caught by a receipt tucked in a drawer. He was caught because a man he'd once begged for silence finally decided the debt was settled, and because he stood still, smiling, for a camera he assumed could never reach him. 5.5 years of hiding behind one false wall, undone by one honest photograph and one long-held grudge. If this is the kind of hidden life unraveling in plain sight that keeps you watching, stick around. Next time on Impostor Files, we follow another person who built an entire second identity out in the open, and the single overlooked detail that finally gave them away.